In the interest of time, we're going to get underway. We've got about 40 minutes until the second service prelude begins. So welcome everyone. We're going to celebrate spring and share an update about where we are with the building project. Zach, go ahead and go to the next slide, please. As you can see, we're going to share an update about work since the annual meeting that occurred in February. We'll share an update about where we are with the design of some of the primary elements of the building project and the rationale that has shaped that. We'll also share an update about the fundraising capacity study that was completed, where the team that is identifying projects for mission has identified opportunity. We'll also share an update about the financing component of the project, and we'll leave time for questions and answers. There will be significant additional communication that will occur between now and the time of the annual meeting, which will occur in 2 weeks in this location. Go ahead and advance that, please. First, I want to do a shout out and a thanks to the members of the building leadership team, several of whom have been on this journey for an extended period of time, including into years, and who have done great work over the course of the last 2 to 3 months to assemble this. We've been bolstered as a building leadership team by many others who have contributed significant energy to the sanctuary work group, the lounge and library work group, the mission work group, the finance work group, and also groups that have formed around the campaign appeal and examining our options for the North Block. Go ahead. First, we're going to go back. Where have we been as part of this journey? As we shared before, perhaps it's a bit of an understatement, but this has been a thoughtful and measured process over the course of several years. This first started, the conversations around this, back in 2014. This is really a culmination of a series of steps for the congregation, much of which was centered around the mission assessment process. And that mission assessment process is really what has driven the focus of this building project that we're bringing to the congregation in 2 weeks. Just want to highlight and remind people of 3 central findings of that mission assessment process. First, that worship and relationships are central to the ministries that happen at Zumbro Lutheran. Worship and relationships are also central to this building project that we're advancing. The reality is that several parts of our building are nearing the end of their usable life. None more important than what's above you, the roof, for now. And also, good planning now provides opportunities for future mission. Go ahead, Zach. At the February 10th meeting, the congregation actually unanimously approved a formal resolution and asked the building leadership team to undertake 3 primary activities before a special meeting, which again will occur in 2 weeks. We have further design work to refine the cost estimates, working with architects and contractors. We've also engaged outside counsel and around the topic of fundraising feasibility to determine the capacity for paying for renovations. And we've also developed a financing plan based on conversations with local financial institutions and looking at the option of the ELC Mission Investment Fund. Go ahead, Zach. As we've shared before, this entire process is very much goal-driven. And along this journey as a building leadership team, we've refined some of those goals, but they remain essentially the same. By tending to our infrastructure needs, we need to preserve and protect our core facility so that as a congregation, we can focus on both mission and ministry and not on repairs. By refreshing and reimagining our space, we want to create a warm, flexible environment that reflects the mission of the congregation and is welcoming to many groups, including to our neighborhood, and again, builds on the core strengths of Zumbro Lutheran: worship and purposeful relationships. Go ahead, Zach. And then also, we want to remain strongly committed as a congregation to mission. And that's a vital part of what we're bringing forward as a proposal for the congregation, a significant gift that will support our primary mission partners and is in keeping with our overall mission philosophy. Throughout this process, both Dave and I are fully committed to ensuring that we're completely transparent with the entirety of the process. And we also want to ensure that as a congregation, members have full opportunity to provide input. You recall the more than 200 people that participated in focus groups back in January. We've also done focus groups as part of this phase of the process. The sanctuary work team and also the lounge library group formulated some design options based on feedback we heard from the congregation. We tested that in concept focus groups. Those occurred April 6th through the 10th. 96 members of the congregation participated in those concept focus groups. And in those focus groups, what we wanted to do was ground participants in the objectives and rationale that guided the design decisions. We also wanted to learn if Zumbro members believe the concepts align with the design criteria for enhancements, and importantly, offer members an opportunity to offer suggestions for improvement. We're going to start first with a discussion of the worship space. Again, worship central to all that we do at Zumbro Lutheran and a major focus of our activity. The worship sanctuary work group, you see the members there, put in place 4 primary areas of focus for their design concepts: to brighten and freshen the space, to improve sight lines for the members in the sanctuary, to permit for more flexibility of use, and to also improve accessibility. Within the design recommendations brought forward, this group especially was focused on ensuring that the rich tradition of symbolism remained part and vital to the design concepts for the sanctuary. The river theme, the water theme, using the name of the Zumbro River for which we're named, is now central to this, but we're also recognizing and incorporating the spirit and symbolism of reconciliation through red as part of it as well. So we tested some design concepts. Go ahead. And in large part, the sanctuary enhancements were viewed positively by members. It was felt overwhelmingly that the enhancements matched the wishes voiced by members in the January focus groups, that the majority felt that they would enhance the worship experience. They were positive about the concept of a sanctuary backdrop and cross. They liked the concept overwhelmingly of the river symbolism, and strong support was expressed for the focus on the baptismal font being central to the design and the flexibility about being able to move it. Let's look at a few of what this might look like. Obviously, the sanctuary backdrop is central to this, with the cross, blue evoking the river, but also an expression of red within this. Improved sanctuary lighting is integral to this as well, to brighten the space, but also flexibility about the chancel. The chancel actually could be moved to accommodate various sized worship services, but also other events within the sanctuary. You see in the floor that the river theme would run up to the cross, starting at the back of the sanctuary with the baptismal font. Also back in the January focus groups, there was a strong expression of people feeling good about the glass in the back of the sanctuary, but also did not want glass in the entirety of the wall structure to maintain privacy and intimacy of the worship service. That certainly is incorporated. You see the entrance, which would be part of the thinking is as you enter the church, you look immediately to the cross and to the chancel, meaning worship is again central to who we are as a congregation. A change out front would be that the tile would actually be replaced by carpet and new tile throughout the sanctuary, which would accommodate the hearing loop, which is part of the accessibility. This is the view to the back. Central to this package is also bringing the organ up to full restoration as part of what we've discussed previously. You see the river theme moving to the back and accessibility to the balcony in two sides. Let's just move back one time. Dave, thoughts or comments to add?
I think it's just really important to make note that the Sanctuary Committee spent a great deal of time with our design consultants on this process. They've been here in our building numerous times and spending enormous amounts of time getting feedback, but then also throwing lots of different ideas at our group before making any decisions. It was well thought out.
Thanks, Dave. Another major category is that of hospitality, and specifically the lounge and library areas. You see the members of the work group that participated in that activity. They had 4 primary areas of goals that they set out for their work: to add natural light in the common areas, that to provide space that would accommodate gathering for people literally in our footprint within our neighborhood, to improve that gathering space, to improve line of sight, and also to improve accessibility. Central to that is the new elevator that would be located just adjacent to the front entrance, and actually would permit access to sanctuary level, to the ground floor, and to levels 1 and 2. And that would be built to accommodate, would be oversized in terms of an elevator to accommodate the burden. And also permit greater flexibility for storage of large items that we currently don't have. Also, as part of this is an acknowledgement of the library's central focus for the congregation and for the church. As part of that, the library would be located just off of the main lounge. And if you advance to the next slide, one of the things we heard loud and clear in the concept focus groups that the original design as brought forward did not resonate with the majority of those who were participating. While they liked the placement, they did not like the open nature of the library. They were concerned about its open layout. They liked the concept of usable space over the west stairwell. You know, the west stairwell is quite large. The concept and what we're bringing forward is to actually utilize that in the form of terrace seating. There were also comments that many seek the library as a place for refuge from the masses. More introverted nature of some folks that they are more comfortable with actually appreciate the peace and solitude of the library. So how do we best accommodate those seeking that? And that resulted in some changes in the design, which we'll share here in just a second. And also, in general, the majority liked the proposed lounge space, especially the movable wall, so the permanent wall is removed, along with the addition of the coffee bar. So if we move forward, this is the space looking out towards downtown Rochester. One of the things we've accommodated as part of this design is an usher's stand, which was noticed in some of the early concepts as missing, but also small gathering spaces. The lighting fixture at the top is meant to resonate with the crown of thorns to keep the design theme moving through. You also see over on the far wall coat racks, and coat racks placed throughout this space. Also carpet in this area as opposed to the existing tile. You see the refinement of the library itself. While it has glass, it also offers a degree of privacy for folks. It remains centrally located, also accommodates the video wall, which will be a more interactive expression of our mission and outreach as a congregation. You see the refinement of the west stairwell. The west stairwell remains, but also affords space for people to have more privacy, but also bright light.
Yeah, so the library's new location is what we currently call our coat room. And if you look at this vision up here, you'll notice the windows on the left and the doorway of that last figure walking in. It becomes a movable and very accessible space for light as well. We wanted to capture that here. The other thing to note here too would be that this stairwell is twice as wide as most stairwells, and we wanted a cost-effective way of creating creative space here without building underneath this as well. So this deck structure goes down and still provides access to the nursery and all those other spaces, and potentially another gathering space underneath as well.
So one of the things I think it's hard to struggle with is envisioning this in total. One of the things WSN, our architects, did was created an animation. We're going to play and share that now, so you have a sense for it in completion. One of the things to note, obviously new pews, more flexible pews, including new seating in the chapel. The question would be what happens to these pews. We've had initial conversations about reuse of them for bookshelves and other locations throughout the church. One of our tasks as the building leadership team, if you move to the next slide, Zach, is now to do more final estimates for the total project and what we're advancing. We've done that work, working with Knudsen Construction. The vast majority of the cost, or at least half of it, is associated with infrastructure. Re-roofing, replacing single-pane windows, completing the HVAC. The exterior fascia, as we know, is deteriorating. You saw that in the animation, a redo of that, and resurfacing the parking lot. On the HVAC?
So the HVAC system has been probably where we've had to spend most of our time. We're not only just trying to understand HVAC, Pastor Jason and some of us, we're not going to call ourselves experts, but we might feel like that in certain days. So our HVAC system operates fairly efficiently on our lower levels, but on the main level we have all kinds of different things coming and going. And as you know, with construction, the longer you wait, the more this cost goes up in our world today. So we've been very diligent about trying to understand what our needs are and what things we don't need. And I know Tracy and I met several times with Community Construction as well to understand this upgrade. This is a very large portion of this, and we do have other funds that have been still held on to contribute to this, but when you look at this list here, HVAC is a major concern. We want this place to be efficient, and we want it to be comfortable, and we want, of course, we want the best too. So there's some of those things that are all incorporated in this, but HVAC is a big one. The only other thing I would mention on this quick, Chris, is parking lot resurface is not just simply a resurface, but it's a re-level, so that our parking lot is a level parking lot with access that's transitional into the building, again, hitting on the note of accessibility.
You see that items within hospitality, there's one, there is what we brought forward as part of the annual meeting and the price associated with those. If we do move to the next slide, again, worship central to what we do. That is the elements that are included, including the pipe organ restoration, which would actually occur at the very end, and actually in 2020 or 2021, after 22, excuse me, A, to be scheduled, and B, to make sure literally the dust settles on reconstruction so that it's done well. In terms of accessibility, we would renovate the existing elevator. We would actually schedule that first to permit greater accessibility while we worship in the gymnasium. There would be a new elevator at the front of the building, hearing room throughout the sanctuary, and to the point about the parking lot, it would be curbless to permit greater accessibility. You see the bottom line of the total estimated project cost is just over $4.3 million. You advance, Zach? We also engaged Tom Jolivet. You see his background in the handout we shared today and will send via email tomorrow. Tom is a veteran of doing this work, of working with congregations and churches to define their fundraising capacity. We tested with around 30 members their sense for enthusiasm for the project and the degree to which they felt they might be willing to give. The project in total was positively received and accepted by that work group. He recommends that a 3-year capital campaign to fund the proposed projects. The support for doing it is there. And from his point of view, a $2.5 million capital campaign goal is appropriate. He asks that we ensure, as we bring forward a capital campaign and the building project, that we continue to clarify that we are not, at this phase of our journey, discussing the north lot, that that's a separate issue. This is a project to refine and refurbish what we have in terms of a footprint currently, and to clearly communicate the financial plans associated with it. You'll hear more about that just as we close our presentation. A team has also been working hard on mission beyond our church. As a building leadership team, we continue to strongly support the concept that 10% of funds raised through the capital campaign would support mission. That team and work group has identified 3 areas of focus for the $250,000 that would be raised as part of a $2.5 million capital campaign. Engagement and working with organizations that support our downtown neighborhood. The team has had preliminary conversations with Lutheran Social Services, identifying some interesting ways to support our downtown neighborhood. The team's looking at, as Open Table expands to an additional night and additional locations as part of the stewardship campaign, Finding God in the Midst of the City, might it afford opportunity to do additional things around healthcare outreach or vocational learning outreach into our community, and also mission around the world. How might we do more to fulfill the mission of Miami Lutheran Hospital in Tanzania around farming, bringing more essential medical equipment, and that steady supply of pharmaceuticals? That would be the area of the direction of those funds. Zach, moving forward, there's also been formed a capital campaign appeal leadership team. That team is assembled. You see the members there. Importantly, this group has heard the recommendation around the fundraising feasibility and is also advancing the concept of a stretch goal of $3 million for a capital campaign. We'll talk here in just a minute about why a stretch goal of $3 million is advantageous to us as a congregation. Now into the project financing. The financing team assembled, including perspectives of a variety of folks, including Bill Forlitz, Joe Ahrens led that as the current treasurer of the congregation, and a wide range of members considered current debt, potential for the amount of a capital campaign, and the payment term. You want to hit these, Dave?
Sure. So always the interesting question is always gets down to the money, right? So ultimately, if you're looking at this slide here, projected financing, we tried first and foremost with all of our contractors and designs to ensure that we're including everything, including time, construction, process, and materials, and all those things. So it's really important to first and foremost point out that we do have current debt, previous loan, and that is important to include. We also have phase 1 and phase 2 of an HVAC system involved in that. And that construction estimates also include that 10% contingency for our estimations of inflation. It's definitely going up. So total construction, the financing for that is proposed to be stretched out at 25-year at 4.25%. Bill and Joe both did extensive research on some of this. Zumbro traditionally pays its debt off very quickly. I learned a lot more about this church than I ever did when hearing about the history of our other construction projects that we did. But upon completion of the construction loan, we were looking to take a construction loan for the interim time, which is interest only. And then after the construction period is closed, we'll consolidate our current debt and the construction debt into one financing piece. And that's what you're looking at when you hear the 25-year percentage.
So just one thing to point out, we do have reserve funds to support HVAC at $462,000, which are already committed. If you move to the next slide, the real bottom line is what is the impact of this relative to our mortgage payments. Our current mortgage is $12,100 per month, and it reflects 8.6% of our annual budget. If we were to raise $2.5 million, you see the numbers there, our monthly total would increase to $17,600 and represent 13.4%. A $3 million stretch goal for our capital campaign would make us even more, confident moving forward. $14,900 per month, or about $15,000 per month. Not that big of an increase compared to what we're paying currently. And as a building leadership team on Thursday evening, one of the points we made strongly was that we want to ensure that this project reflects the current commitment and permits us to retain the current commitment to staff, programming, and synod benevolence. Moving on, there's additional work groups that were formed and are the result of what we heard in the focus groups back in January. We've done some work relative to refrigerators in the kitchen. We're also committed to doing a bit of a lower level refresh around painting for the faith formation areas along the lines of the building project timeline. A solar panel work group has formed and has done terrific work assessing the viability, our own power output, where this might fit, and will advance a proposal separate from this building project. They've done tremendous work, and we really look forward to that coming forward to the church council. And then Dave has convened a North Lot exploratory group to think about how might we use that aspect to further the mission of the congregation, to afford revenue in the long term for the congregation, and really grow as a congregation within our community. And and moving forward. So what would a timeline be, the schedule for this? We vote 2 weeks from today. The fundraising component would essentially begin then, immediately after, and proceed through October. These schematic designs that you've seen and which we have advanced would be finalized October to January. Building and permitting would occur January to March, and construction would begin essentially in March of next year and really would get underway after Easter of next year, specifically here in the sanctuary and in the lounge and library areas, and proceed through at least October, but if things go well, actually it would be done earlier than that, hopefully in September. An important element of this is doing it along this timeline permits us to do what the architects and construction community calls value engineering. We have the right amount of time to match specifications with the best priced materials. We could rush it and do it more quickly, but we might not get the best material match, and also it might be a higher price. We're open to your questions and welcome your input.
Are these numbers accurate, or are they just estimates?
We believe they are accurate based on the specifications we have brought forward. They will continue to be refined as we move to the next phase. I'll let Dave comment, but the team at Knudsen and WSN has been tremendous to work with through this process. We have confidence in them.
Yeah, we've been very specific about that because initially in our HVAC work, in phase one of our HVAC work, we were talking in terms of estimates versus bids. Very different world in construction and things, and these would be their bids for the project.
At the beginning, you mentioned worship and community outreach as part of our mission. What in this proposed new facility will we be able to do to reach out to the community that we cannot do now?
So our hope and the goal associated with Nancy is the space within the lounge and library would afford additional opportunity for gathering space. Also, the refresh of the existing elevator will permit greater use and efficiency for open table, and expansion of our mission and outreach in 3 areas, or 2 areas that are within our community. Within our downtown neighborhood through partnering with a local organization, and also additional community outreach through the mission component.
Yeah, through the mission, we have a mission team as well, that have been already reaching out to other people, including LSS, I believe, and already looking at some other uses of our building in lower levels, and that work is being done already, but it's being instrumentally put into this project.
Nancy, if I may add a couple words to her question.
Please.
So it's been a few years since I was council president, but it was during the time that the theme was creating a place for all. And during that time, we learned and listened to people who had trouble entering our facility. The elevator would certainly assist that. And we also learned that the back walls isolated, or if you will, made newcomers feel like they were uncomfortable, especially entering our lounge. To come into that lounge, they felt they had to be an insider. And by removing the walls, by opening the space, by letting more natural air in, we really feel we're making a statement to the outside. Please come join us. I also know that, and I appreciate, Teresa, if you jump in with your comment last evening or a couple nights ago, people driving by will be able to look in and see this is a safe place, this is a welcoming place, this is a place that we're ready to be more hospitable.
So I did have a side question on how the construction relationship works. Knudsen has been a partner of ours on this, and the estimator, who I have a lot of professional respect for, has dug in deep to a point where you could take us off into various forays. Anyway, how this works going forward is Knudsen has an open book with all the components that are submitted to the contractors who perform the work, the electrical contractors, all of those will be open book. So they have a set fee that Knudsen can charge for managing those, but all of those typical subcontracts will be open book to us, so we can have the best of local resources.
You're in the back, sorry.
Just another comment about the accessibility issue and Nancy's question. Chris mentioned the hearing loop. We often think of physical accessibility as the issue and getting people with mobility impairments in the building, but people with hearing impairments have an accessibility issue as well, and that's accessibility hearing the spoken word. This is a great space musically for acoustics, but it's not always a great space to hear what people are saying. And the hearing loop will help a lot with that, and that's important. The other just comment I was going to make is that, as Chris mentioned, the north parking lots are not really even in the conversation right now. I suspect, I'm just guessing, that the value of those lots would almost equal what we're talking about, like potentially borrowing for this. So, and it's also a very attractive property, with lots of options that Dave and his group are looking into.
Just wondering what the plan does for the seating capacity for worship. We're hearing the same, and then a totally different question, almost a negative one. Any thought given to security in this day and time?
So in terms of seating capacity, it's essentially the same, especially with the chancel area having seating capacity. The chapel, excuse me. The chapel also would be afforded an opportunity for meeting space that we don't have currently in terms of space. So I can't quote the exact number, but it's essentially the same, which will continue to be refined. Is that fair, Jason?
Yeah.
Relative to security, yes, it's on our radar. Can we say exactly what we've done to accommodate it? Nothing specific, but we are very aware of the issue.
And I think we have several conversations tonight. Can you hear me? Give me a second. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Well, that guy doesn't work for Verizon anymore. But staff and Tracy Shaw, our business manager and our facilities manager, they are kind of constantly having conversations about this, and we do evaluate kind of what doors should have access at different points, and so that is kind of an ongoing process as staff about security.
People driving by, if they saw solar panels on our roof, I think they would see a commitment to protecting our environment. So I'm wondering how the solar panel work group fits into that work, that timeline that you drew up.
So that.
Jim grab it for a microphone.
Thank you for asking the question. I was having a hard time stifling myself, so yeah, thanks. I was we have met several times. Bob Freeman has just done an outstanding job. He put together, he doesn't like when I say this, but he put together a 23,000 line spreadsheet with our usage data. We've contacted solar companies, and we believe that it is likely possible that we can put together a project that would save us money from day one or within roughly the first 5 years with little or no upfront money from the church. And I guess the question that I ask is, why would we not do this, given that my grandson is going to live in a world where Miami is going to be underwater if this kind of thing doesn't happen?
So that group has done tremendous work, but it's also a work in progress. We're voting in 2 weeks on a package. It will be like merging into traffic and bringing a proposal forward, as I understand it, Shelley please confirm to the church council for consideration. And the good news, to Jim's point, is it's likely to be very economical and will make sense. So we got two lines of activity and we're hoping that we're going to get. And to be candid, we hear the strong interest in this topic. We're trying to do the best we can to facilitate.
I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I think we have to get ready for worship, so thank you all for coming. Thank you, Chris and Dave, for your